So a very good morning to you. It's Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. I'm Andy Johnson. Welcome to the program and welcome to us here at WESN. This is AM Prime. Let's tell you what's happening over the next hour and a half or so. The opposition member of parliament, who is the shadow health minister, Dr. Richard Sichuan, is taking issue with the government. He says the government is lapsing on dealing with the new virus in it's now monkeypox and the vaccines for that. He's calling for greater attention on that. We'll tell you about that in moments from now. We're also talking with the minority leader, the Tobago House of Assembly, Mr. Calvin Morris. He says that people in his district, Darrell Springs in that area, he says that they are being denied facilities and upgrades in certain regards because they voted PNM. He's asking that question as he addresses the matter of public works taking place in that area. In the second hour, we're talking with the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amory Brown. He's responding to us on our query about what's the government's response to the report put out by the Department of State in the United States about our handling of human trafficking in the country. You've seen some reporting on it in the newspapers. Of course, we take you around the region. We go to Greendot and on other parts close by. The program, much more in that to come. Well, let's start with the issue of Dr. Sichuan's claim that the government is not doing what it's supposed to be. Lapsing is what's being said. Before we get to him, however, let's take a look at this.
The World Health Organization has declared the global outbreak of monkeypox a public health emergency of international concern. This rating has only been used by the World Health Organization 7 times since 2007. Currently, there are over 30,000 cases of monkeypox across 75 countries and territories. Over 6,600 persons in the U.S. currently have monkeypox virus. The question now has to be asked, what is Minister Diyal Singh doing to safeguard citizens of Trinidad and Tobago from the monkeypox virus? Minister Diyal Singh made numerous mistakes during the COVID-19 pandemic, and they must not be repeated.
All right, so Dr. Sichuan is with us now. Good morning, sir. Good to have you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you.
All right, you are accusing the minister of failing to act rapidly. Let's talk about that.
Well, as we have seen, the U.S. is struggling to contain their monkeypox outbreak, and similar could occur here in Trinidad and Tobago. We haven't had our first case as yet, but should we have one, the cases could multiply very quickly. And currently we are unarmed. We are unable to treat a monkeypox outbreak in Trinidad and Tobago because we have no vaccines. So all I'm saying is he made the order to PAHO. We have no time of arrival of these vaccines, but more must be done. We must reach out to our international partners, asking for a donation of vaccines, monkeypox vaccines, and possibly we must reach out to the manufacturer of these vaccines and make an order from them.
You talk here about where it's shown its head in different parts of the Caribbean. You say the Bahamas, Jamaica, Barbados, and Venezuela, and you say in a couple of cases those persons had no history of travel prior.
In Jamaica. So Jamaica has 3 or 4 cases now, and the last case that they reported had no link to a previous case, nor no travel history. So it's a locally acquired case, and that's very concerning. What that means is that the monkeypox virus is circulating to some extent in Jamaica. So they're in a situation now where they have to try to contain that. And to contain an issue like that, you have to either quarantine persons and known contacts, as well as you have to vaccinate.
Well, is there any sense as to how somebody gets it without having traveled or without any known contact with somebody who has it, where they are?
Transmission, they must have come into contact with someone that was carrying the virus. So like, it's very transmissible. It's not very airborne like COVID-19, but it's skin-to-skin contact. So you can give someone a high five, you can give someone a kiss, you can even sleep on the bed sheets of someone who is positive for monkeypox, and you can contract the virus. So that's a situation like, for example, first with Carnival, where we have numerous persons coming in using hotel beds. It's very transmissible, and that's why we need to prepare for a monkeypox outbreak in Trinidad and Tobago. Our borders are open. There are almost 7,000 cases in the United States. And, you know, we have a lot of travelers from the United States coming into our shores. So it's very easy for someone to come into Trinidad and Tobago, as they did in Jamaica as they did in the Bahamas. We also have cases in Venezuela. And, we have issues with our borders, and persons that may have monkeypox in Venezuela may actually choose to come into Trinidad and Tobago for treatment. So these are all issues that we have to consider in dealing with our monkeypox outbreak in Trinidad and Tobago.
You say in some cases it's pretty much like where we were at the beginning of COVID-19, because the experts, the medical experts, wherever they were saying one thing, and then as the virus roamed across landscapes, different things were finding out. So they were being found out. So we're learning about it as we deal with trying to combat it.
Well, COVID-19 was a new novel coronavirus. Monkeypox has been around for some time. And there are vaccines and there are treatments for monkeypox. So what I was saying is that should the United States is saying that monkeypox virus may become endemic in their country, and what that means, it will become one of the repertoire pathogens in the United States, meaning that it's there to stay. And we must not allow that to occur here in Trinidad and Tobago. And to do that, we need the therapeutics, we need the vaccines. Now, vaccines are very scarce. I am not contesting that, but more must be done. You cannot just say you made an order with PAHO. PAHO is going to deliver vaccines to countries based on their epidemiological needs. So if a country has no cases, they are not going to send any vaccines here, most likely. So are we just to wait until monkeypox case enters Trinidad and Tobago and it spreads and then, ask PAHO for the vaccines? No, we must be proactive. We must ask Minister Amory Brown to reach out to our international partners in the European Union, in the United States, and ask for a donation. So at least we have some vaccines. Should one person become positive for monkeypox, we can vaccinate all their contacts and try to close in that circle and not allow monkeypox virus to enter our communities.
So how do you know we're not doing that? You want the Minister of Health to say what is being done? And
exactly, because in COVID-19, he put all his eggs into the COVAX basket, which was a WHO initiative. And we were waiting on these COVAX vaccines. In the 2020 budget, Colin Imbert, Minister of Finance, actually said that COVAX would deliver 33% of the population vaccines. And at the end of the day, we had to wait more than 1 year just to get just over 100,000 vaccines from COVAX. And we had to end up asking the Indian government, the Barbados government, the United States. We had to actually buy vaccines from China before all of this were acquired from COVAX. So we cannot rely on the WHO initiative, which is to supply vaccines through PAHO, as we did with the COVID-19 virus. The rich countries around the world are buying up all the stock. And once they buy vaccines, COVAX or the WHO initiative cannot get vaccines. So we then must be proactive. We must ask our international partners before there's an outbreak here in Trinidad and Tobago so we can contain it. And if that is being done, Minister Dial Singh, say so. We need to have some level of reassurance. I'm a healthcare worker. I would like to know that, if there's an outbreak of monkeypox, I can protect myself, I can protect my family, I can protect my patients.
Here's what you say. If monkeypox gains a permanent foothold in Trinidad and Tobago and becomes an endemic virus that joins our circulating repertoire of pathogens, it would be our worst public health failure, not only because of the pain and peril of the disease, but because it's avoidable.
Yeah, it is avoidable because COVID-19 was a novel virus. The scientists had to start almost from scratch to create that vaccine. And it took them many, many months to create a vaccine. And many were hesitant to take that vaccine because they said this was a new drug and it had only experimental usage or authorization. The monkeypox vaccine and its therapeutics have been around for many, many years. So it's a safe vaccine, it's a known vaccine. Persons should not have an issue taking the vaccine, as well as we must target those that are most at risk. So the minister is trying to shy away from the fact that currently most cases are from the gay and bisexual community. And we must target those persons. 98% of cases around the world are in the gay and the bisexual community. But we must target those persons to have a proper public healthcare response. We must educate these persons. This virus is not known to Trinbagonians. We must educate persons about the signs and the symptoms of this virus, and persons must know that they must quarantine and seek medical attention should they see these signs and symptoms, so that we can contain this virus should it enter Trinidad and Tobago.
You say he's trying to shy away from the fact that it is spread, how it is being spread. What you mean is that he's focusing on
anyone can get the virus. I'm not saying it's only in this particular cohort of persons, but similar to the HIV and AIDS campaign, we must target those most at risk, and we must educate them. We must empower them. We must give them the necessary tools to safeguard themselves so that it doesn't become part of the repertoire pathogens in the community of Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. You say the minister must tell us when and how many vaccines are to arrive in Trinidad, and he must immediately expand testing capacity and educate people about it. And your contention is that he's not doing any of that, either of that.
Yeah, have a press briefing and say you're seeking vaccines from the United States or the European Union, or you have made an order with Bavarian Nordic, which is the manufacturer of the vaccines. Minister Dialsing, have you even contacted the manufacturer and made an order directly to the manufacturer? Have you written to the United States? Have you written to countries in the European Union that have a vast quantity of these vaccines? As the minister only made an order for 2,000 vaccines from PAHO. So could we ask the United States for 2,000 vaccines? Could we ask someone in the European Union for 2,000 vaccines? And could we have it here in stock in Trinidad and Tobago? Should an outbreak happen, we can, close the circle around those persons that may be infected and don't allow monkeypox to enter the community.
Yeah. What do you mean when you say we can close the circle around those who are affected? You mean those who may become affected? So we should be prepared for that.
So the infected person and their contacts, so that it can't spread out.
Yeah. When it began to be talked about, it was saying, as you said earlier, that it's concentrated, moving around people who are in the gay community, people who are involved in same-sex relations.
The origins of the spread, it's originally a virus that's endemic to certain parts of Africa, but somehow it came out and it spread pretty quickly. They are suspecting that this happened in Europe, in certain parties, and then it moved worldwide. The United States was a little bit slow in trying to contain the virus in its country, and it's I think almost 7,000 persons in the United States are positive for monkeypox, including children. So there was a case where someone infected with monkeypox slept on a bed, and 2 children then slept on the same bed the night after, and they contracted the virus. So anyone can get the monkeypox virus, but we must educate those that are most vulnerable to getting the virus right now, and allow those persons.
Who are the most vulnerable right now?
The gay and the bisexual community, men that are having sex with other men, and that is well documented in the literature.
So you think that in the same way that in the early days of HIV, it was called the gay plague, this is another version of the gay plague then?
I wouldn't say that, but that's where the virus is spreading right now. And we must educate persons in this cohort of the population to protect themselves. And this is done with safe sexual practice. This is done with limiting sexual partners. This is done with hand washing and to some extent mask wearing. So these are things persons have to know. The minister must reach out and educate persons. That's what I'm saying. I also call for a director of infectious diseases in Trinidad and Tobago, someone that can spearhead the response and the treatment of these new infectious diseases that we are getting globally. We had COVID-19 that shut down the global economy and Trinidad and Tobago, and now we are having monkeypox. And these new pathogens apparently will arise every so often, and we should have a point person in the Ministry of Health that is responsible to responding and acquiring therapeutics and being in charge of public health education of these new pathogens. And I'm calling for a director of infectious diseases in Trinidad and Tobago.
And we have people who qualify to hold that position?
Yeah, we have a number of persons that have qualified in the US in infectious diseases, in the UK as well. The relevant person can apply, and that can be an entire division of the Ministry of Health.
Trinidad and Tobago nationals?
Yes, yes. Graduates of Mount Hope, University of the West Indies.
Yeah. All right, I want to go back to something you said about this stuff, that you see, we were talking about HIV and so on, and last week I interviewed the person who was the head of the Office for the Caribbean at PAHO dealing with that, and he's saying that something is happening and things that are not happening to continue to contain the spread of HIV, and that we're falling behind on that issue, so we could get back to a situation in which that explodes again, and we into another cycle. What's your view on that?
Well, I mean, globally, including Trinidad and Tobago, we were focused on COVID-19 for the last 2 years, and rightly so. There was a lot to be done to contain that virus, to educate persons, and to vaccinate the population in order to reach some level of herd immunity. And we are still in the process of doing that. So a lot of the Ministry of Health's attention was obviously on COVID-19 and its variants, and we are still combating that. So yes, we have to go back now and look at the non-communicable diseases. We have to look at HIV. We have to look at normal vaccinations in infants, cardiac care. All of these things were left on the back burner, and they would slowly have to come to the forefront again.
Yeah, and with this monkeypox, as you say, I think we were told in the beginning at least that, well, the means by which it is spread primarily and principally, but there seems to be emerging information now that it can be spread, it can be airborne in the same way.
There's some literature indicating that it can be air droplet transmission. So that's why I was saying, mask wearing is probably important as well, most likely important. Hand washing as well. So the minister has to come out, he has to do more. At any single day in Trinidad and Tobago, we could hear that we have a monkeypox case in our midst. As I said, Jamaica has 3 or 4 cases already, one being locally acquired. And our borders are open. We have numerous persons arriving from countries around the world where it is present. Monkeypox is present in over 75 countries. So, at any given day, we could get a case of monkeypox.
Well, you say the borders are open. I'm working on some stories now about how while the borders were closed, a lot of people were coming here by other means, and that has created an issue about us being seen as what is called, what the US people are calling, what they call it, a sex trafficking destination. Trinidad and Tobago.
Right, I read about that. Yeah, I read about that. And I mean, that humans are one of the most effective ways of transmitting pathogens. So we saw that with COVID-19. We see that with many other diseases. And, if a population in Venezuela has a certain pathogen in its midst, chances are we here in Trinidad and Tobago may get it as well.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to have to eventually move a motion in the Parliament for the minister to address this? Because probably he's not going to take it on if you're just talking to media people and you're putting statements out.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see his response in the budget, how he plans to deal with this this concern, because many countries around the world are saying it is a serious concern. So I'm waiting to see his response in the budget, and we'll take it from there. But hopefully, we will never get a case of monkeypox. Hopefully, it will never happen. But all I'm saying is that we must do everything in our power to prepare for a monkeypox infection in Trinidad and Tobago.
And the minister is not doing half as much as he should be. That's your point.
He's not.
All right, Dr. Sicharan, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you very much, sir.
Dr. Richard Sicharan, Member of Parliament and the spokesperson for health in the opposition. Stay with us. We're going to take a break. We come back much more after this.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The best for your baby is at dbesttoys.com. We have the best strollers, car seats, walkers, feeding accessories, playpens, cribs, clothing, and the widest range of brand name toys like Barbie, Hot Wheels, Nerf, LOL, Fisher-Price, Cocomelon, Intex pools, Amazon Fire tablets, HP and Gateway laptops, and the best bikes, scooters, skateboards, and ride-on. Visit us in-store at Southern Main Road, MacBean, or shop online now at dbesttoys.com. That's dbesttoys.com. We have the best toys at the best prices.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix-It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Welcome back to the program. Punished for voting Pena with a question mark. That was the headline in a story in the Newsday last Friday, August 5th. Let's tell you how it begins and what it purports. Electoral representative for Darrell Spring Wim, Kelvon Morris, is accusing the current administration of punishing his district for voting for the People's National Movement in the December 6, 2021 Tobago House of Assembly elections. Mr. Morris was the lone successful PNM candidate after the Progressive Democratic Patriots won the TH elections by a landslide 14-1. At Tuesday evening's Minority Report on Tobago Updates, Mr. Morris said, "You see where I'm not getting the kind of support from my colleagues who are on the other side because we have a number of infrastructure challenges." And he goes on to talk about the fact that people at Spring Trace in Darrell Spring, they created a project started by the former administration, and that has been halted, still to be completed. And there are other parts of the litany. Mr. Morris, good morning.
Good morning, Andy. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, well, good to see you. So you're contending that. That's not sort of overstating a point if you say that your constituents are being punished because they voted for the PNM.
So, Andy, what we are seeing is a clear disparity in how the resources of Tobago are being allocated at this time. If you drive around Tobago, you would recognize that there are projects going on, in various parts of Tobago, except for Darrell Spring Wim. And what is interesting is that Darrell Spring Wim is located basically on the outskirts of the central business district, which is Scarborough. And you would expect that there will be a sort of continuous maintenance to ensure that, as you enter Scarborough, the aesthetics and the way how the roads and the infrastructure is one that is amenable to a district that is located right outside of Scarborough. But we are not seeing, we have projects that were started during the previous administration and they remain untouched, while new projects are happening in other areas. So the people of Darrell Spring Wim are in fact asking the question whether they aren't Tobagonians as well.
All right, I want to come to some what you say as some of the other projects that are being worked on. What you say at Darren Spring, that particular project, all it required was just a final phase of paving, and now it has gotten so bad that the road is worse than before. And the thing about it is that on the other side, the work continued. So you're saying a disadvantage.
Yes, so that is one of the areas that showed clearly that there's some sort of discrimination that is happening, because that area, Darrow Spring, is divided into Darrow Spring Wim and Scarborough Month Grace. And the interesting thing is that there were two projects, one on either side of the road. The one on my side has been halted, while the other one on the other side, which belongs to the Secretary of Infrastructure, Mr. Trevor James, that project continued. And the one on my side has gotten so bad that vehicles are now refusing to take passengers, take residents down into that street. And it means that residents now have to walk with all their groceries from the top of the hill all the way down to the bottom. And we are calling on the administration to fulfill their promise, which was to treat all Tobagonians equally and equitably. We are calling on them also. They did indicate that they will be giving $10 million to each district to treat with the various infrastructural challenges. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if the $10 million is being distributed in the other district, but in Darrow Spring Wim, we have not seen any kind of work that would indicate that they are indeed apportioning and allocating any funds to treat with our infrastructural challenges.
And is it a situation in which if that money was being distributed elsewhere, you would know? If it's, as you say, you're not sure, it may or may not be the case.
As I said, I'm not sure, so I'm seeking clarification. But what is certain is that works are being done, infrastructural projects are being done in other areas, but we in the district of Darrow Spring Wim, we are not seeing any of those projects being implemented in our district. What is even more concerning to us is that even basic services, when persons go to the various divisions and once they indicate that they're from this electoral district, their address bears the electoral district of Darrow Spring Wim, they themselves are saying to me that the kind of responses they are getting from the political directorate is one that seems to suggest that once you're from the district, you get nothing.
Yeah. You talk here about the PDP's initiative. They announced an initiative called Smart Show Me a Road Tobago, but they're ignoring it as far as your area is concerned.
Exactly. And one gentleman, because I had a sport and family recently, and he pointed out to me that, well, there's an app that you would point out where you have potholes, and usually the way how the app's supposed to operate is that once the pothole is identified, within a couple days to a week or so, they would come and treat with the potholes. And this is one of the pothole the guy would have identified is one that is right, is an eyesore leading to the Costat campus in Glen Road. And for some reason, after a month of identifying this very unsightly pothole and this pothole that really is a hazard to both the students and both the residents, it remains unattended. And he's now asking the question if the smart app does not work for the people of Darrow Spring Wim, because it's either that the app is not working at all, or just that it does not respond when the people of Darrow Spring Wim identify their challenges.
Yeah, and is that the road that you were referring to a while ago? And it says here that you say it's more like a swimming pool. People can swim in it.
The pothole has been, and the thing is, it's at the entrance of entering the access to the campus there, and it's really, really bad. It's a whole lot, a little more. It definitely could be a swimming pool, and it remains unattended. It remains an eyesore, and for some reason, the division is just not treating with those areas in my district that is identified as challenges.
Yeah. And there are others. There are other areas in the district.
There are many other areas. In fact, there was a program launched also by the previous administration, treating with micro work. So small, that is drainage issues, retaining walls and those kind of things. And I'm aware that about 10 of those projects were approved to be implemented in my district. And on the PDP coming into office, all of those projects were for some reason not implemented. So they remain unattended. The contractors were actually mobilized. So they would have received their contracts, but they have not received, they're supposed to receive a payment up front because it's small contractors, and they have not yet received that payment to start the work.
So the spirit coming into the current chapter of the Assembly after the election, was there not the talk that both sides will seek to work together generally in the interests of the people of Tobago? So that is not happening.
Correct, and it's quite disappointing because you know, Tobagonians would have really expected a new dynamics in the politics in terms of seeing Tobagonians working together in the best interests of Tobago. Tobagonians aren't interested in the colors and the parties and politics. Tobagonians simply want to see goods and services distributed in an equitable and a responsible way. And so far, unfortunately, the one PNM representative seems to be discriminated against when in a situation where there's already 14-1, and you would think that the one would at least get the cooperation of the 14, but that unfortunately isn't happening at this time.
But it seems that at least that your side has kept up the advocacy and kept up the need to keep yourselves in play. It's not that you are accepting defeat in this kind of way. You are trying to be as out front and as upfront as is required.
Definitely, because one of the things I've always said, what is good for Tobago, I would give full support. And what is not in Tobago's interest, we would raise our voices in concern and in opposition. But, you know, I am Tobagonian first. I simply want to see my island develop and my people prosper. So I continue to be very vigilant, be very proactive in ensuring that we are doing things that will redound to the best interests of every Tobagonian. And so I continue to offer, in some cases, suggestions. In some cases, I will offer my voice of concern, and just to ensure that the current administration remains accountable. And also, I know I have a duty to the people of Darrell Spring Wim, first and foremost, to ensure that the resources of Tobago are also apportioned to them in an equitable and in a fair manner.
Yeah. Can I ask you, what is the state of affairs with the, should we call it rebuilding of the party on the ground in Tobago?
Well, the PNM, as you know, we have a new Tobago Council Executive led by Ansel Dennis and chaired by Mr. Larry Paul. And they continue to do the work within and without the party. So we know at this point in time what it requires is a lot of reconnecting, you know, a lot of reaching out, a lot of listening and talking and a lot of apologizing as well, because, you know, after 21 years, you would have disappointed persons in various ways, and it's to really ensure that we understand where we went wrong, and we do the necessary that would give people the confidence that going forward, this new PNM executive, along with this minority council, will ensure that we put their interests first.
Yeah. So what is the role and function of the fact is that the two members of parliament in Tobago are PNM members. To what extent that remains sort of an effective counterpoint, or is it?
Well, of course, we all continue to work together. The members of parliament, as you know, represents as well Tobago's interests in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And we all will meet from time to time and discuss the issues, and what requires national intervention, they will continue to represent. And what requires Tobago's intervention at the level of the Tobago Assembly legislature, I as minority leader will continue to represent there. So we all understand our roles and functions, and therefore we apportion responsibilities according to where the issues lie and who is the responsible party. So where there are issues that require information or intervention from the national level, they will and they do give support.
Yeah. Might there be some other areas outside of road repairs and so on that your side wants to?
Of course, we have even the young men and young women and boys and girls are seeing in terms of even employment, where, you know, there are some jobs that are unskilled and doesn't really require any real certification and qualification. So these people usually just go and put down their names for daily rated work. And recently there was a list of people who were engaged, and quite interestingly, out of the 40 to 60 persons that were engaged, none of them came from my electoral district, although they too would have gone through the process of enlisting their names. So we continue to see the disparity. I think the residents are saying to me they understand the challenges, but what they do not understand is the fact that they are also Tobagonians, and they expected and expect that they will be treated as such. So the opportunities we are hoping going forward, because the PDP did promise, Mr. Augustine in his on the night of his victory, did indicate that they will take off their PDP garments and now wear the garment of Tobago and treat everyone as equals. And we are holding them to that. We are hoping that they will come to their senses and really act on their words and ensure that the resources of Tobago are portioned equally and equitably.
Yeah, you talk about a playing field somewhere, you talk about the guys from Glen Road and Montpellier and Wim and so on, Idlewild, and come across and use a venue to have their various activities, small goal sweating and so on, and they're clamoring for a new playing field, and that's another issue.
So yes, we have the Idlewild recreational grounds, and that ground really plays home to a number of youth academies and also to the various residents of Glen Road, Idlewild, Montpelier, Wim, because none of those areas or villages have any kind of recreational field. So they would come over and play football. You have youth academies such as the Eagles Youth Academy, and all of them would train there as well. And we are seeing areas where, such as in Tobago, which is not as heavily subscribed, those areas are now through the budget speech of the Chief Secretary. He would have indicated some of the fields that would be lit. And although we would have clamored for that same field that is heavily subscribed to be lit, that field was left out. And again, you're wondering, why is this field not one of those prioritized based on the demand for its use and the fact that you now have to apportion use to the youngsters as well as to the adults. And it would make quite good sense to have the field lit so that it would give them more time and allow them to be able to schedule the use of the field in such a way that no one is disenfranchised. And we are seeing that our cries, our pleas, our request to have the field lit has been ignored.
So in your view, you're seeing a situation in which the PDP is operating what people will call triumphalist.
Clearly, exactly, and it's also deceptive. It's also disingenuous, because in the one breath you are having them telling Tobagonians that we are putting people before politics, but in their actions, so in their words they are saying we are putting people before politics, but in their actions they are actually putting the politics before people. And it's because of this we are seeing clear acts of discrimination against the people of Darrell Spring Wim. We are seeing in the village of Wim, for instance, we have a project there as well, the Wim Skills Center, which will be, once completed, a game changer for skills development in Tobago. And that project, which is on its last phase, is really limping along. There's no priority to finish the project. And yet again, you're asking yourself, is this deliberate? Is this a deliberate act because the project belongs or is located in Wim? But unknowing to them, this project, it will benefit and will change the game for all of Tobago, because it is that one place that young people could come together and be able to have skills training and skills development programs in a really controlled manner.
Yeah, so there's a lot on the plate that the administration should be addressing for the welfare and benefit of the people of Tobago across the board, and that is not happening. That's your major contention.
That is not happening, unfortunately, at this time.
All right, Mr. Morris, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, Mr. Kelvin Morris, Minority Leader at the Tobago House of Assembly. We're going to begin to take a look around the region. Now we go to Grenada, where the Prime Minister, Dr. Dickon Mitchell, has shut down concerns of conflict with the appointment of a lawyer for the government side. Let's hear of that from the Grenada Carib update.
The new deputy chairman of the Citizenship by Investment program in Grenada has denied there is any conflict with her being on the board and being involved with a company in an arbitration proceeding against the government following an investment dispute. Lawyer Daisy Andel Joseph downplayed any concerns in a digital interview with me. And at a press conference Wednesday, Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell also said he too was not concerned.
In a small place like Grenada, conflicts of interest are always going to arise. The critical thing is that we manage the conflict of interest. I'm satisfied that should an actual conflict of interest arise, that we are well placed to manage that.
Andel Joseph has confirmed that she's linked to the True Blue Resorts Limited company, which was building the Kimpton Kawana Bay Hotel in Grand Anse. That is now the focus of international arbitration after a fallout with the government. Now a member of the board that would have initially dealt with the CBI applications that eventually helped invest in the project, Andel Joseph said she could deal with the investment fallout while at the same time serving as a member of the new board. Andel told us, and I quote, "Be assured I would not have accepted the appointment if I had any doubt that I could maintain my independence and integrity," unquote. Board Chairman Richard Duncan refused to comment directly on the issue because he said he had to be fully briefed on the affairs of the board. Andal Joseph was bullish on the issue of the arbitration. She told us, and I quote again, "I am seeing it through because I think the wrongs of the past administration need to be addressed," unquote. Her comments will seem to suggest that Joseph Andal might be rooting against the government she now represents on the board in the dispute it is now forced to defend. Today, the new Prime Minister, Mitchell, downplayed it.
The matter between True Blue Bay and Greendot is in arbitration. If that is a process by which this matter is resolved, then it's arbitrators who are going to make the decision.
The Grenadian leader said he was fully aware of Joseph Andal's connections to the True Blue Bay company, but thinks she can still properly serve on the CBI committee.
The CBI committee's main role is to oversee the citizenship by investment program, and specifically to treat with applications by individual persons who are applying for Grenadian citizenship. There are no persons applying through True Blue Bay Development Limited, aka Kawana Bay. And so I'm satisfied that we are in a position to, I'm satisfied that Ms. Daisy Joseph Andal is in a position to adequately carry out her functions.
All right, so we go to Jamaica now, where there's residents in a part of the country are protesting against an agency called NEPA, N-E-P-A. Let's take a look at that.
Another day of protest over the contamination of the Rio Cobre. This time, residents of Bogwalk and the surrounding communities of St. Catherine took their complaints directly to the source of their problem, the Yuatan-based bauxite facility. The people want Windalco, as well as the National Environment and Planning Agency, to know they have had enough of the pollution. At least one resident suggested that the plant recycles the water, as previous companies have done.
And I would like the government to fit in to get them to recycle this water that they push in the river to try to earth. All the kids, my kids them too, sometimes they go and say, "Daddy, come make we go catch fish." Me and them down to the river. So at the end of the day, this is a whole mash up of environment, you understand? So they can recycle it. I think so.
According to the Vice Chairman of the St. Catherine Parish Development Committee, Kestenard Gordon, residents are initiating legal action against the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, to force it to use its regulatory powers.
Because it is NEPA who has brought the action based on their scientific evidence against Windalco. So on the basis of that, NEPA has sufficiently satisfied itself as to culpability. So therefore, what is preventing them from acting in the public interest at this time? The implications are far-reaching and devastating.
He outlined the breaches residents have identified and intend to pursue.
I don't see any of them in the gorge along the canal bank, warning the people, getting them off the riverbank. I think the river should be declared a disaster area. The entire Royal Cover basin should be declared a disaster area at this time, and people be pushed off the riverbank because it is excessively dangerous. If this chemical could be burning out the intestines of the fish, imagine it with humans.
He also provided an update on 2 court cases brought against Windalco for similar incidents in 2019 and 2020.
The trial for the infringement in 2019, that one has commenced. And as a matter of fact, we have had at least 2 days of trial into that. And the court has set an additional 3 days to complete that one for 2019. The one for 21, the trial for 2021, we have just gotten the first trial date for the 20th of November. So that one has not yet started.
We come to Barbados now, where the Prime Minister there, Mia Mottley, is advising people in that country that the government is not engaged in printing money.
The Central Bank of Barbados has not been printing money. Prime Minister Mia Mottley made this clear today as she sought to set the record straight with respect to the financial institution's purchase of recent government-issued bonds. President of the Democratic Labour Party, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, recently charged that government was printing money by having the Central Bank of Barbados purchase its boss bonds. But Motley rubbished the charge as she took to the floor of Parliament during debate on the Electric Light and Power Amendment Bill.
The boss bonds that people bought were bought by ordinary public servants and others who then bought from public servants. It wasn't a case of printing money. And to the extent that the central bank issued securities under the pandemic levy, it was because they were issuing securities out of money that was converted from the special drawing rights from the International Monetary Fund, which is the government's money. But we are now, each day and each week, having persons making all kinds of spurious allegations. And I get it, you know, I get it. Because if you can't find something substantive to talk about, then you have to pick something and manufacture it.
All right, so we take a break for the news at the top of the hour. On the other side of that, the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amory Brown, on the situation in which the country is cast in terms of being seen as a prime destination for sex trafficking. Stay with us.
Get ready for an explosion of music an August evening at La Jolla Auditorium, featuring Leandra, Streecanal, David Baru and Marva, Nathaniel, and from Tobago, John Arnold and Lynette Lewis. August 20th, $250. La Jolla Auditorium from 6 p.m. For more info, call 747-4289 or 262-2584.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Marquise Akers. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Acting ASP speaks out on scrap iron thefts. Teenager shot at mother's birthday party. Reports on Paria diving incident to be released soon. And internationally, U.S. Senate passes sweeping climate, tax and healthcare package. Now for the details. Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police Ashraf Ali says the level of theft of scrap iron has reached concerning levels. This after several millions in steel was stolen from the compound of the Ministry of Works and Transport last week. The items were recovered. He spoke on Talking Point about the issue.
On one hand, I would say that they are doing a good job by taking up all these scrap materials, old fridges, stoves, and all these scrap iron and material that you have lying around your house. They can get some small money for it because it has some value. But then, because of the supply and demand, the legitimate ones who drive around and picking up these type of things are not the ones who are going to cut down the wires. Because they are the persons cutting wires going for the high turnover copper. They're going for the copper which has much more value.
A St. Joseph teen is nursing gunshot wounds after an attack in Luengo village, Maracas. Reports say the 18-year-old was at his mother's birthday party when he left to purchase additional drinks as the lime continued into the wee hours of the morning. Accompanied by a friend, the two went to a bar which is located at the corner of San Pedro and Maracas Royal Road, where they purchased a quantity of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. As they exited the bar and were about to re-enter the vehicle, two armed suspects approached and began shooting at them. As the driver fell to the ground, the suspects ran off. The friend placed the bleeding man inside the vehicle and drove to the Eric Williams Medical Science Complex, where the victim was treated for gunshot wounds to the lower left side of his back, 2 to the right upper arm, and 3 to the lower right side of his chest. Labour Minister Stephen McClatchy has revealed that the OSHA report on the Paria Fuel Trading Company divers incident will be released soon. The minister made the statement while speaking with state media.
What has not been completed. We brought in some experts from the US, and we also have some local experts who are yet to give us their final reports that will go into the OSH final report. So there is some outstanding work, but as I indicated, it should be completed sometime by mid-August.
And internationally, the U.S. Senate has approved a sweeping $700 billion economic package that includes major legislation on healthcare, tax, and climate change. The bill seeks to lower the cost of some medicines, increase corporate taxes, and reduce carbon emissions. The passing of the bill, a flagship part of President Joe Biden's agenda, is a boost ahead of midterm elections, but it is a significantly scaled-back version of the $3.5 trillion package that was first proposed by his administration. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Marquise Akers. Thanks for watching. The Mary Immaculate Prayer Group and Friends presents its prayer breakfast on August 31st in aid of Monsignor Christian Pereira. The prayer breakfast begins from 9 a.m. at the Cathedral of Immaculate Conception. Cost is only $200. Come support the Cup of Gratitude in aid of Monsignor Pereira, August 31st.
Tickets are available at the parish office of the Cathedral of Immaculate Conception and the parish of Our Lady of Perpetual Help.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered,
the conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McLean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this is a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the Content Capital.
Welcome back to the program. This country, Trinidad and Tobago, has remained on what is called a Tier 2 watch list of trafficking in persons for a second consecutive year. And there are concerns that if immediate measures are not taken to improve this urgently, the country could find itself being blacklisted by the United States. On Tuesday, the U.S. Department of State released the 2022 Trafficking in Persons report, and it says a lot of things about which the country ought not to be proud. Well, Dr. Amory Brown, the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, has agreed to talk with us on this. We appreciate that. We welcome him. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson. How are you today?
Well, I'm good. Thanks for coming on. Well, let me just say in the start that maybe I was operating initially on a kind of on a misdiagnosed premise, because I thought that the report was leaked for some reason, to sort of bring pressure on Trinidad and Tobago, on the country for some reason. But in talking with the gentleman at the U.S. Embassy, based on which I wrote some stories in the papers, he said, well, no, this is something that is mandated, that they have to do by Congress, to put these reports out. But one of the things he said in there in the discussions that we had was that what they are concerned about is what he called official complicity, in the way in which it seems, and this is sort of my conclusion now, it seems that though this question about human trafficking, and inside of that, sex trafficking is becoming more and more of a problem. The report suggests that I say that Trinidad and Tobago is becoming more and more as a destination for sex and human trafficking. How do you see that?
Good morning. I think it's a very important topic for the government and for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. As you know, Mr. Johnson, the U.S. Department of State has taken upon itself to conduct these assessments and prepare reports on an annual basis, not just on Trinidad and Tobago, I must say, but on countries across the world,
around the world,
188 countries.
Yes.
Now, this matter is of particular importance to us, largely because of our strategic location, our unfortunate strategic location just off the coast of South America, and the reality that Trinidad and Tobago is a destination and a transit point for pressure as a result of human trafficking and other illegal flows such as illegal migration. So the reality is quite clear. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has adopted a position that these reports can and must be used to the benefit of the improvement of our response to this matter. So it gives us a very useful external pair of eyes, a useful gauge as to some of the gaps and the areas that require additional attention. So yes, you are correct. We have remained on the Tier 2 watch list, which suggests and which confirms that the government has been taking action. The other arms of state and the society stakeholders have been taking action, but there is a call, there is a requirement for additional action and presentation of evidence of additional action. And I would say that there are a number of actions in train right now to deal with this very intractable problem. And when I met very recently, as you know, with the US Embassy on this matter, and it is acknowledged that even the United States of America itself is under extreme pressure from human traffickers. So this is not TNT specific, but it's very much TNT relevant. And the cabinet and the government has adopted the position that we would make best use of the recommendations, the findings in this report, and take all possible action to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago does not drop down to Tier 3 status, which was very much a possibility this year. So it's not a celebration that we're at the Tier 2 watch list, but it is a sense of reality that given the protocols within the State Department, there was a distinct possibility that we could have gone down to Tier 3.
Yeah, because what he's saying is that if we remain at tier 2 for another year, then we automatically will drop down, and that has significant consequences.
We are committed to avoiding that, because that would come with consequences which we are not prepared to face, and we should not be prepared to face at this time. We are confident that can be avoided. One of the challenges that we've identified is the need to ensure best possible communication, even during the preparation of these reports by the U.S. State Department. I would point you to a couple of specific examples. One of the challenges is the phrasing within this year's report that senior government officials have been implicated in human trafficking. And I took pains to ask the U.S. authorities to shed some light on that phrasing, because if it is that senior officials or members of the government are implicated or involved in human trafficking, that is something that the National Security Council and the Cabinet needs to be aware of and take urgent action on. And it turns out that when the full explanation is provided during the meetings, that those are references to other arms of the state, such as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And I had to tell our U.S. friends or close partners that it is not really in the best constructive form if you are making reference to officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service that you feel are implicated in these matters, to couch that under the phrase senior government official. Because what it does, it prevents us from using these reports to best effect, to put pressure where it must be placed. And lots of things can be hidden, and lots of categories can take shelter under this somewhat misleading phrase, senior government official. And as you know, the TTPS has its independence, and the police commissioner as independent authority.
Right, because
and I drew the parallel with the United States of America, and I think that helped them to understand that when you're referring to members of the police service, specific members, it is not really constructive to say senior government official. And the other area that requires additional clarity, examination, detailed communication in the preparation of next year's report, the 2023 report, is the distinction between the government's role and the role of prosecutor and the role of convictor. And again, within this report, there are references to the government was not successful in prosecuting cases of human traffickers, when the reality is, and the report says it, that there have been interdictions and persons have been brought before the law, but within our judicial system, there has been a lack of success. And that's not an area of pride at all for the country. That's an area that requires additional commitment and effort and success. But again, it is somewhat misleading and not sufficiently constructive if that is phrased simply as the government, because we want to be able to bring pressure where pressure needs to be brought to bear, and where the executive and the cabinet have core responsibility, we have to take that responsibility very seriously. Right. And where there are other arms that are autonomous under the Constitution, it helps us in achieving the results the country has to achieve, that these reports are as specific and constructive and productive as possible. So that's been the dialogue, and I would say it has been helpful because we've learned from these exchanges, and I believe our U.S. counterparts as well has learned more about our system and our perspectives on these matters.
In the report it says, for instance, that by some means the information gatherers said that they came up with what is the fact that, well, at least they put it in the report that at least 10% of the Trinidad and Tobago police service is or might be involved in some aspect of this racket. They talk about police officers sort of tipping off, well, working with the traffickers themselves to get people in and to places where they send them, and that they involved in tipping off the owners of these bars and spas and clubs and so on to avoid police raids. And Mr. Bollinger used the term about the absence, and the report does talk about a lot that the government as government and administration is doing to address the matter, but that they seem to be putting an emphasis on the fact that there have not been sufficient convictions with the number of people who are involved, whether it's police, Coast Guard, immigration officers. They're saying there's a lot of that happening, or a lot of people in those categories of
real cause for concern. Now, when you refer to things like percentages of the police service, again, the United States of America and its authorities have made it clear that what goes into these reports is not always empirical evidence that can be weighed and distilled. So there is a proviso that a lot of it sometimes is based on media reports, some of it is based on chatter and other intelligence inputs that can create a particular impression. So I'm saying that not to say that we do not have a challenge within the TTPS and other arms of our uniformed and even non-uniformed services when it comes to matters of being implicated in evils such as human trafficking. Because we have seen some cases that have been brought to book, that have been brought to the courts, where police officers are involved in corrupt dealings. So that is a particular concern. And again, Trinidad and Tobago is not on its own in this regard. And we know that those who are involved in these lucrative trades have the economic means to corrupt almost any branch and to penetrate even the agencies that are put in place to counteract their activities. So that's an ongoing pressure, and there is work. Let me just say that the Minister of National Security, or current Minister of National Security, who is named in this report in a number of very positive ways, has been, I would say, very forthright, very committed to addressing this particular issue, because we have seen the case examples of the horrific results of the victimology, the damage that is done by these human traffickers, these sexual enslavers, and the others who take advantage of our geographic proximity and the challenges that countries like ourselves, small islands in close proximity to South America, the pressure we continue to face. And there are a number of steps that the report has outlined that the Ministry of National Security have been taking. And the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs serves basically as the liaison, the middleman, the communicator. So when the State Department, through the U.S. Embassy, presents its questionnaire and is compiling information to populate the report, they come through the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. And then we reach out to the Ministry of National Security, to the Immigration Division, and to the other agencies to ensure that we participate and that the report that is eventually generated is accurate and helpful to us. So we take our role seriously, but at the end of the day, we depend on the partnership and the feedback from these agencies. And I must say that for the 2022 report, one of the reasons the report is so heavy in content is because we got excellent participation and ownership in terms of the arms of state, the Ministry of National Security, recognizing the importance of its mandate, not just to take action, but to help us to demonstrate that the right types of actions are being taken. And the report has said additional actions are viewed as necessary. And again, we have taken the recommendations in this 2022 report very seriously, and consistent action is underway.
And
the 2023 report is going to be even better than this one.
Right,
and
because
we
he
really
says,
must avoid, yes.
Because he says that if the status remains as it is, then we'll be put in a bracket in which a significant amount of assistance, whether it's financial, whether it's human resources, from the United States will be cut off. But I want to take your point about the writing of the report, because I saw some of the things and I wondered to what extent they can be held out, where in the report talks about an NGO said this or an international organization said that. All right, so you take that into account. But the fact that it said that in spite of the lockdown in 2020, a lot of traffic was happening, using the term here generically, a lot of people were coming into the country by other means, and that they were facilitated by customs and immigration people and by Coast Guard people. There's a sense that not enough of a light has been shone in that area, so that you bring more people up to answer questions about that. And is that an area that let's say, the cabinet will work on? Certainly the Ministry of National Security will find out who these, I'm using the term culprits in these organizations, whether it's police and customs and immigration, facilitating some of this. And is there going to be ramped up sort of surveillance on that ground?
Yes, there is. That's underway. And you would see, Mr. Johnson, even in the local press, almost every week now you are seeing examples of SRPs and other uniformed officers of our protective services being brought before the courts, charged with serious crimes. And very often what we found is that those who have their hands dirty in one pot have their dirty hands in others as well. So the government is very much seized on the importance of ensuring that all the arms of state are as must be characterized by integrity, because these are the officials that we pay our hard-earned tax dollars to, and that we depend upon to protect the victims of trafficking, the migrants that would be brought in on occasion, and also the citizens and nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. So this has to be an area of zero compromise. And again, I assure you that these are matters that the Minister of National Security and the National Security Council are very much seized on and committed to. So I think you're spot on in terms of some of the core concerns that you've referenced. These matters are currently before the attention of the government. And again, the commitment is resolute that we have to make further progress in collaboration with a number of valuable stakeholders to ensure that we make progress. It does no good to just say, well, we are under pressure and we're close to Venezuela and all those things, but it is incumbent upon us to take as much consistent action as we are capable of to stem the tide. Is there going to be a point where we can say there is zero trafficking, there are zero illegal crossings, there are zero local officials and others supporting and nourishing this evil trade? I don't know, but the action has to be robust, it has to be consistent, it has to be well-resourced, and the mandate is quite clear. A number of actions have been taken. The report says the Ministry of National Security and the Minister have been having weekly meetings, often bi-weekly meetings, focused specifically on this issue. Pressure being brought to bear on the senior officers within the service. What actions have we been taking? How can we demonstrate more results? Are the patrols as regular enough? Have we been using our intelligence services specifically? So that kind of dialogue is ongoing, and I would say is even more important in this year to ensure that we achieve more results and we avoid what you said, that descent into tier 3 and the implications to the support and partnership from the United States of America.
All right, Minister Brown, we want to thank you very much for coming on to talk about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson, and look forward to our future conversation.
Thank you very much. The Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amory Brown, weighing in on the report on Trinidad and Tobago about sex trafficking, about human trafficking into and out of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, that's our broadcast for this morning. We want to thank you for watching. We want to thank all our guests, and we tell you you can keep in touch with us here always on WESN-CC. You could check us out on all our social media platforms, and you could send your emails to amprime@wesncc.com. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for watching. Just tell you that in half an hour, news at the top of the hour, followed by today's edition of Talking Points with Shah and Small. But for now, and for here, thanks for watching. We see you tomorrow.
WESN